So right now, there's a wave of people quitting on YouTube. They're either fully quitting, having someone take over their channel, or just getting burnt out. Why do you think so many YouTubers are quitting, getting burnt out, letting someone else take their channel over?
Yeah, so I think a lot of these content creators are people that have been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah.
And one aspect of that would be the fact that times are changing and the style of content's changing, and maybe they're not as passionate about how their audience is, what they're expecting. That's one side of it. I think another side of it, going along with the fact that these creators have been at it for a long time, it is a very grueling job. And I say job because you know, no matter how much you love it, you are going to be, there are going to be times, regardless of the fact that it may be your passion, that it's still work, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there comes a time, especially with people that are in the world of content creation, you can always be working on your channel, right? And I'm making an assumption here, but I think a lot of content creators don't necessarily have that balance in their life. Yeah. And, you know, even on the analytics side, it's gamified. Like you have all of these metrics, and if a video performs, it goes in the green. You see a little green. You either get a green check with a circle that means like it's doing average viewership, let's say, or average watch time or click through rate, or if it does really well, then it's an up arrow with a full green circle, which is, you know, that means that your video's performing greater than usual. But if it doesn't perform, that's where you see the grayed out down arrow. And so with all that, you know, it's very easy to get kind of tied up with the never-ending cycle of trying to chase those analytics. And I'm sure there's a portion of those YouTubers that have gone burnout because of that, because, you know, they're no longer following the passion side of things, and it's more, a lot of their motivation has kind of shifted towards the side of, you know, really it being all about, you know, continuing to grow the channel, which that's why earlier I was talking about the fact that I think it is important to, you know, balance those two things. And yeah, I think expectations can be tough as well. There's a lot of pressure of continuing to upload, and you know, there are some content creators out there that have a very small team, and they work crazy hours, and if you don't put in those boundaries, not only on the side of, okay, I'm going to give myself some time to you know, have a break and recharge, or if you don't put in those boundaries on the side of, I'm not going to let the performance of the content dictate, one, what I think about this video and the art that I'm putting out there, and two, what I think about my self-worth, right? It's very important to separate those two things. And then I think there are also just some content creators that have checked all the boxes as far as what their goals are. They've been at it for a long time. I know that a lot of these YouTubers have been on the platform for over like 15 years. So,
dude, this is the soul wealth part of the podcast. This is actually exactly what inspired me to start the podcast, because I think I'm doing a good job working on it, but I always fall back in the trap. I would call the least talked about addiction of America, which is workaholism. And it's where you get your self-worth, your identity from your work. And YouTube is a very hard, so many people in America struggle with that concept that I just explained, especially in our era, because we grew up with the internet, so we're always subconsciously comparing ourselves. We have people like David Goggins who are telling you go, 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 and you're comparing yourself to everyone else, and then you tie your worth to your career, and then if your worth is tied to your career, then your worth is tied to how hard you work, and we glorify hard work, which is a good and a bad thing. And then a lot of times people will neglect their friends or family, and I did it without a thriving. I neglected my friends without making money and without a thriving YouTube channel. So it was like the worst of both worlds, but something good came from it, which is this message of soul wealth. There's so much I want to cover here, but I do want to explain the idea of this post button, which is that, like, I know I briefly covered in the beginning, but most people, especially YouTubers, but it's any artist, whether you're hitting post on a song, whether you're hitting post on a podcast, a YouTube video, whatever you're hitting post on, Instagram, TikTok, most people hit post and they're waiting to find out if they're successful. And at that point, yes, you can market the video after it comes out, and marketing is important, but at that point, you've pretty much done what you can. And so if you're waiting for outside metrics to control your internal value. You're going, based on how many streams my song gets, I will decide if it was successful. Based on if I get the green up arrow, I'll decide if it's successful. And that's what I always say is, by the time you hit post, you should know if it was a success. So for me, the first metric is, did I enjoy it? Well, I'm enjoying this conversation, so that's a check. And will this improve our relationship? I think it will, because we haven't had a conversation like this maybe ever. Mm-hmm. So then it's a success. But what I'm trying to take from you too is, like, how do I take that, like, business aspect and apply it to the before the post button, which creating the thumbnail and the title before, thinking about the topics better, thinking about the story, doing the research, like all these things I can do before the post button, and it's in my control. And that's why, like, stress and anxiety come from uncertainty. It comes from problems that you have no control over. And so that's something I think is particularly interesting. But